Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome you all to the second day of the International Conference on Management and Entrepreneurship, ICOME 2023, proudly organized by the Faculty of Management Studies, the Open University of Sri Lanka. Yesterday, we could successfully conduct the technical forums of the conference with the participation of the academic experts and the paper presenters. As we step into the second day of this conference, we unlock the doors to the industry forum, where a group of industry experts is waiting to create a harmonious blend of knowledge, experience, and inspiration. In following the theme of ICOME 2023, a whole new world, the challenges of change, and re-envisioning the business management landscape, this industry forum will bridge the gap between academia and industry. And today, our distinguished industry experts are ready to share the real-world insights and practical experiences of this real business world. And we believe this collaboration will allow the researchers to gain a deeper understanding of industry needs, challenges, and emerging trends. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me quickly introduce the panel of industry experts who have joined hands with us today. Dr. Jagat Alvis, as Executive Chairman of Selinco General Insurance Limited, is ready to bring a wealth of expertise and experience of the insurance industry to this industry forum. Dr. Dinesh Hamangoda, as the General Manager of Sales at Hemas Manufacturing Private Limited, waiting to share his extensive experience in sales, marketing insights, and business development strategies. And also, Mr. Rajit Karyavasam, Managing Director, Haycarbs PLC, who has done a lot to bring this business to the international level. And also, Mr. Aruna Pereira, President, CFA Society of Sri Lanka, who has contributed a lot to the industry and community. And this forum wouldn't be truly complete without blending the insights of a visionary woman who contributes to the country. So here we have Ms. Nushara Fonseca, Human Resource Manager, Belita Private Limited. And adding to this panel of industry experts, today we have a great moderator as well. Mr. Yajit De Silva, one of the best products and assets of the Open University of Sri Lanka and an active member of the Open University MBA alumni. Without taking more time, I'm going to hand over this forum to him, and I invite you all to actively join to this industry forum, and I'm pretty sure this would be the most important chapter within ICOME 2023. Mr. Yajit De Silva, over to you. Thank you.
Very good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for the brief introduction. I consider myself as honored and privileged to conduct this event, to moderate this event. This is one of the most important events in the calendar of the Open University of Sri Lanka. And though it's very young, the second year, we have seen so much of work gone into this. Before I introduce and we start about this whole session, I'll be failing my duty if I'm not going to say a few words about two gentlemen and one lady who is behind this whole exercise, put a lot of efforts. Our Vice Chancellor, I have seen him as a unique personality. During this short period at the Open University, he has brought in many new things to the Open University. He's a visionary personality, and he has a blend of private and public sector spirit. And you, sir, not only you tell us what to do, and you always direct, and you are looking at the results end of the day. So that is one of the success in this institution, and we are sure under his leadership, this institution, we consider it one of the best in Sri Lanka, will go from strength to strength. We expect many more guidance from you as alumni, and we also really interested now, and our team is really happy to work with you. We are sure we can move forward. The other personality, Dean of the Faculty. Actually, I came to alumni because of him, I must tell that. He has a very charming approach of doing things, and he knows how to get things going on. And his teaching style is quite different. He won't teach students in the class. He's creating an enabling environment for us to learn. That is the success, and we are happy. So you are being the Dean of the Faculty and carrying your duties. Charming lady, I always say, young professor, Conference Chair, Professor Champika Liana Gamage. Very mild, but very smart in her approach. So she had done so much of work during these few days, and commitment to this event was great, madam. We really appreciate your inputs to us as well as at alumni. Coming back to, sorry, our VC, ladies and gentlemen, what is important in any organization is the identification and talent management. So he has a pool of talent, and he is using that talent in order to bring this institution from good to great. With that brief introduction, let me now introduce our eminent panelists. Looking at these panelists also, I think Open University has done a wonderful job of selecting personalities who have wealth of experience in their field. Ladies and gentlemen, experience is not doing the same thing. Doing same thing and expecting different results, we call it lunacy. So actually when I went through these lady and gentleman's profile, I observed their wealth of experience. I'm very sure this industry experience will bring a synergy to the university as well as to them in order for us to go forward. Not in order, anyway, let me introduce Dr. Jagat Alvis, Executive Chairman, Selenco General Insurance Limited. Jagat Alvis graduated as a Bachelor of Science, majoring in Mathematics and Physics, and joined the National Insurance Corporation in 1983 as a trainee. He became an associate member of the Chartered Insurance Institute, London, ACII, in 1985, and a fellow FCII in 1990. Also fellow the Indian Insurance Institution. He is a chartered insurer by profession. Dr. Alvis is a fellow of Institute of Directors, UK. Dr. Alvis joined Selenco Insurance Company in March 1988 as the reinsure manager, and he was appointed to the Board of Directors Technical in January 1993. He also heading the education sector of Selenco Insurance PLC as a chairman, ECEG, Education Holding, which is the largest private education conglomerate in Sri Lanka, in addition to his responsibility as Director Technical, Chief Technical Officer of Selenco General Insurance Limited. He also one of the past presidents of the Insurance Association of Sri Lanka, IAIASL, and is presently an executive committee member. Dr. Alvis was also President Chairman of the Executive Board of Association of Insurance, Reinsurer of Developing Countries, AIRDC, for the year 2012 and 2014. He is presently a member of the Board of Trustees. Took little time. I think we should give real honor to him introducing him. Our next panelist, Dr. Dinesh Hamangoda, General Manager Sales, Hemas Manufacturing Limited, one of the biggest conglomerates in Sri Lanka. He is the General Manager Sales Hemas Holding PLC, Hemas Consumer Brands, full-time, Hemas Holdings PLC, Hemas Consumer Brand, full-time from November 1990, present 3 years and 7 months, November 2019, present 3 years and 7 months, Hemas House, number 75, Babe Ruth Place, Colombo 2. Sri Lanka Hemas House, he's working there. Chief Executive Officer, East West Marketing Private Limited, in January 2017 up to 2019. 2.5 years, almost 3 years in 2017 to 2019. Marketing Manager, Holcim, January 2014 2017. Marketing Manager, Liver Food Solution, and Business Planning Manager of March 2011 to 2012. Again, he's a Marketing Manager, Entrepreneur, and Business Development from 2008, August to 2011. Brand Manager, August 2005 to 2008. Customer Development Sales Manager, December 2011 to August 2005. Junior Executive, Sampath Bank in 1998. So that's what I said, the vast experience in different fields. Let me introduce the next presenter, Mr. Ranjit Karyavasam, Managing Director of HECAB PLC. Mr. Karyavasam is a member of the Haley's Group, management companies, and the main board of Haley's PLC. He currently serves as the Managing Director of HECAB PLC, Purification Products Sector, and Deputy Chairman of Dip Products PLC and Haley's Fiber PLC. Two are the key export manufacturing sectors of Haley's PLC. He's a member of the Board of Sri Lanka Institute of Nanotechnology Private Limited, SLINTC, representing Haley's. Mr. Karyavasam was a BSc Engineering, Electronics and Telecommunication from University of Maratua, Sri Lanka. Fellow member of the Chartered Institute of Management Account UK, FCMA, CGMA, also Six Sigma Continuous Improvement Methodology Black Belt, certified by Motorola University in Malaysia. Before joining Haley's, he held the position of Director General Manager of Ensel Lanka Limited, leading multinational manufacture operations Sri Lanka in the export, surgical, and industrial grounds. He has served as a chairman of the Manufacturing Association, Export Processing Zone, Biagama 2. Mr. Karyavasam has a vast experience in export manufacturing industry and the international B2B marketing. He is passionate in developing successful teams in the direction of value addition and organic growth. He shared the knowledge at many forums, panels, and has been a guest lecturer in many universities and professional events. He's a nature lover and passionate on wildlife photography as well. Then we have Mr. Anura Pereira. Of course, Mr. Anura Pereira said not to say much about himself, but we'll be failing our duties. We are not going to talk about him. Group Finance, Chief Financial Officer, Analytical Instrument Private Limited, July 2012 to present. Director Corporate Finance, Valuation Consulting Director, Corporate Finance Valuation Consulting, PwC Sri Lanka, Senior Vice President Knowledge Management, Moody's Analytical Knowledge Service, Accountant Group Finance of John Keels Holdings, yet another very big conglomerate in Sri Lanka, Assistant Manager Audit and Assurance. With that short introduction, since he said not to talk about him too much, I think we'll be able to hear from him during the sessions. The lady in this group, adding color to this event, she's professionally a human resource manager. Nushara, a past PhD of Methodist College, Colombo, and a graduate of Cardiff Metropolitan University, UK. He's qualified human resource personnel with nearly 10 years experience, though we are looking at you. You are looking very young, and so you have so much of experience in the field. Throughout her career, she has accumulated expertise in human resource across diverse industries, including BPO, financial service, and capital market. Currently, Raja holds the position of Manager Human Resource Bilita Private Limited, a prominent local entrepreneur, a business solution and development company. It's a very brief introduction, ladies and gentlemen. Considering the time constraint, may I now invite our panelist to say about this important event. Our theme is a whole new world, the challenge of change and reinvent in envisioning the business management landscape. And I'm sure they are very capable of sharing their expertise in this arena. May I now invite Dr. Jagat Alvis, with all due respect, to share his thoughts at this forum.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for the organizers to invite me for this great forum. And in short, so challenges and how we have faced challenges in this country. We had a war for 33 years, a conflict, not a war, a conflict, 33 years. But we have adapted to it. We have faced the challenges. And we have done various re-engineering processes within our businesses to suit that environment. Suddenly, the war was over, the conflict was over, then we are doing continuing business as usual. Then came the COVID. I am sure Sri Lanka, we have faced that challenge compared to most of the countries very well. Most of the organization has worked as if they are working. Earlier, the working from home was only a concept, but it came to a reality during the COVID. And we have faced that challenge. So Sri Lanka as a nation, if you take even the history, we are good at facing challenges. So the business is not an exception. So then came, after COVID or during the same period, came the economic crisis. So we have faced it. We have changed our businesses. We have ventured into new businesses. So the re-engineering process have taken place at different level at your organization. And today, everybody thought we'll be a country like Lebanon. And at one stage, we had only $18 million reserves in this country. And some companies have more than that. So we have come to that level. And people couldn't believe so of course, we have not paid the loans and restructuring or whatever it is, and we have faced that challenge. So today, the whole country, the whole private sector, government sector is in the process of re-engineering to face the challenge we have faced. And it's important to re-engineer your processes. Whether there is a challenge or not, you have to re-engineer your processes. So insurance, where I am working for a long period, is a very traditional field. For last, take 800 years, it has a lot of traditions. But recent past, particularly our company and even the Sri Lankan insurance market, have started re-engineering. The claim process of motor insurance, earlier it was like 3 to 6 months to settle a claim. We started on the spot settlement. It's a process of re-engineering. Nobody believed it that we will do it. But now the whole industry is facing it. And we have launched that with our partner insurance companies in different countries. So now everybody is talking about the way the Sri Lanka is settling claims. So it's a very tough re-engineering process, because we'll have to get the support from the reinsurers, the other partners to start that. But we did it. And then we started selling insurance through mobile phones. A lot of criticism, but still it's a process. It's a re-engineering process and a new product. So Sri Lanka, the insurance industry, I can speak well about the Sri Lankan insurance industry. We are in the process of re-engineering our processes, re-engineering and doing a lot of changes for us to survive in the competitive market. Don't forget, the government sector companies, state companies, they are also going through very serious re-engineering processes. And they are competing with the private companies, and they are not just sitting there, they do a lot of changes, lot of process changing. So re-engineering is very, very important. If you don't think, I would say every minute, how I could do a process, a re-engineering process, you will be history very soon. And the companies may have meetings on monthly basis, a different basis, like quarterly, bi-weekly basis, but everybody has to think re-engineering process daily to face the challenges. So as a result, this theme is very appropriate for what we are going through today. And think about, our cost of operation is going up. No paper sometimes. Electricity cost is skyrocketing. I think every company in their own way have done something to face it. And compared to the manufacturing sector, their challenges are much more than the service sectors. And the service sectors, they have cut down their rent, and half of them are working from home. And some companies, they don't have a dedicated seat. You will know where you are going to sit when you come to office. Normally we have our lockers, you have all the personal things, certificates, important things, but today that ownership of the seat has gone. And by doing that, you are vacating a lot of places. Certain people don't like it. They like to have, okay, this is my seat. It's not my seat. It's a seat in the company. I'm just telling a small thing. And also, today the serious problem we are having, migrating. If you ask student, I'm also the chairman of education group, ICBT, ANC. And earlier they used to ask about the course curriculum, what is this, like. Now first thing they ask, the parents ask, if you do it, can you migrate? That's the first question. What's your plans? I'm looking for migrate. So this is going to be a serious challenge in the future unless you keep on the re-engineering process of your organization. People are leaving at a rate, particularly IT. And sometimes they don't know where are they going. Sometimes they don't know what are they going to do. If you just ask, what are you doing? So I'm planning to migrate. So this is another challenge all of us has to face, particularly the human resource specialist will tell. The continuously, and sometimes you advertise, people won't come. There are people who has, good people who has not done doing a job. But we are planning to migrate. So they don't want to commit themselves for an organization. So this is my thinking. And we are very good at re-engineering and facing challenge. So we'll have to continue with, and we are facing different problems at different times. And unless you are at it, the top management, you will be history soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doctor. I think, ladies and gentlemen from the Open University, you are very fortunate. The re-engineering process has already taken place in this institution with the VC coming in, and we have seen it. And particularly his networking ability, how to get things done. That's a great opportunity for us, for this great institution. Yes, Doctor, the challenge is inevitable. We'll have to face it. We have gone through this mill. In fact, when we had a discussion sometimes back, one of the professors from the Colombo University, she says you were delighted when the fuel crisis came in. You will go for alternatives. What you said is exactly correct. You'll keep on identify new ways of doing things. That's the way forward. I mean, that is our tagline also today. Insurance, yes. We see now you can go to shop and buy insurance. I think your new innovation, that's great. So these few thoughts, what is shared, is very important for us, and how we move forward, particularly the audience, for you also, challenges, how you face challenges, and you will keep on developing once you face the challenges. I, for one, I'm working from home now, Doctor. And efficiency has not come down at all. It's much more easier, relax. But I have a challenge when I work from home, because my home front is always looking at me to get something done at home. That's the challenge. Okay, let's move to the next presenter, Dr. Dinesh Hamangoda, General Manager Sales, Hemas Manufacturing. May we have your views, please?
Yeah. First of all, good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. And I am delighted to be a part of these kind of events I used to do. It's my passion. So, thinking of challenges, I think if you take Sri Lanka, will be a classic case study to all over the world. I don't know whether whether someone has written a case study or not. It's up to us to do a case study. If you look at last 4 years, every year was a challenge. Starting from 2019, it's a year of East attack. So we had a huge impact. It was a challenge. Of course, we overcame. And after that, what happened? COVID attacked us for about 2 years. So was it a challenge? Yes, we came up with lots of innovations, and everybody thought, I mean, it's the end of the world. And as doctor said, we overcame that. Then what happened? The political unrest and economic instability. Everyone thought, okay, Sri Lanka will be next to a worse country like maybe Libya or maybe some other country who went through economic turmoil. But luckily, with some great strategies, we have come to some sort of a stable situation. So I would say in terms of challenges, we can't be stable like not expecting challenges. I mean, day after tomorrow also there will be a challenge. I mean, we should be in a position to absorb that sort of a big, bombarding sort of challenges. Challenges are part and parcel of our lives. That's why as academic and as professionals, we are taught and we'll have to drive our companies and students how to overcome this somewhat like challenges. I think I remember one very good theory called strategic drift. I think Professor may know more than me. If we are not adapting and come up with strategies more than what environment is changing, maybe in data front, maybe in technological front, maybe in philosophical front, whatever, any company, the external environment will be a challenge. So it cannot be a COVID, it may not be economic turmoil, but your competition will be a challenge if you are not adapting to that change, if you are not floating above the competition. So anyway, challenge is part and parcel of our life. So if you take FMCG and marketing front, the main challenge that I see these days is what doctor said. The lot of good, talented, young caliber people are leaving companies and leaving the country. So we have seen, especially in IT front, especially in marketing front, they have lots of opportunities elsewhere. And especially from local companies, what we face is they want to move into a multinational. So we get some good young talent as maybe interns and management trainees, and they suck all processes and basic marketing fundamentals, and a multinational suck our good talents. So that had been a great challenge, and sometimes they ask higher salaries, they ask for quick promotion. These days, another challenge linked to the HR, the people leaving challenge is not like we were few years back when we joined organizations. We never wanted to be a senior manager in 2 years. We never wanted to become a managing director in 5 years. But in management jargons, you have baby boomers, builders, then X, Y, Z, and we have, I think, the new generation called Alpha. So if you especially look at this Z generation, Generation Z, they want to join a corporate as maybe a junior executive, maybe a management trainee level. They want to become a manager in 1 year. They want to become a senior manager in 2 years. Within 5 years, their plan is to be the managing director. So it's very difficult to manage the expectations. So without talented people, we can't overcome competition. So it's a great challenge from the HR fund how to manage these people. So we'll discuss few strategies that we have implemented. Another, especially in the marketing front, I have faced a greater challenge where to put my equalizer, in a metaphor, where to spend money in advertising. There are so many qualitative concepts coming up, like, if you take companies like Apple, companies like Honda in Sri Lanka, they never highly focus on hardcore advertising ATL, BTL. What they do is they highly focus on the quality of the product. Once you put high focus on the quality and the delivery of the product itself is a marketing campaign. So we are in a dilemma, okay, where to spend money on the quality or to mere perception building, I would say. Many of our marketing campaigns are perception building and we are brainwashing. So where to put the money? Should we put our good money behind innovation, product quality development? If you take a washing powder, should we enhance the quality of the washing? Should we enhance the fragrance or put that money on somewhat like perception development building activities? That's a huge dilemma. As academic professionals, we need to come up with a solution where to put the mark. Another challenge that we have seen is where to spend the money in advertising. Now, it's very difficult to pitch and peg whether out of your advertising money, 40% should be spent on e-commerce or e-marketing related e-advertising or traditional ATL, BTL and paper. So it's very difficult to have a qualitative and quantitative understanding where the highly effective investment, where you can get the highly ROI. That's a great challenge. So there are so many case studies, theories, but I haven't gone through such a perfect theory telling, okay, in this industry you spend money of your 40% in these advertising. Another thing is in terms of developing new talent versus new philosophies. So if you take to overcome all these challenges, I believe the philosophical growth mindset. So how to inculcate this philosophical growth mindset, which is very, very old, but it's still, for me and whatever I associate, still valid. So all the concepts, driving this concept called growth mindset, I mean, how to inject this, I would say, antibodies to your students. So it's a great challenge because they always look for a promotion. They always ask, okay, if I come up with this, can I get a promotion? So it's a dilemma how to strategize developing these new talents and keeping their minds on growth mindset versus a long-term career vision. That's another challenge. And how to manage this technology. So on a daily basis, we get loads of technology. In advertising, we have a new trend is coming. I think Sri Lanka, it's in a very nascent stage called this metaverse. Dialog has come up with a concept called futureverse. At least they are one of the few companies who is driving this new technology. So have we got the enough know-how about these new technologies? And that's if you ask, only few companies know about new technology and how to drive concepts through this concept like metaverse and how to get AI. Do they know perfectly about AI? So we have a huge challenge as academics, as professionals, how to infuse this knowledge, especially in the big or small in our corporate strategy, and especially from the school universities to school curriculum to university PhD curriculum. We had to ask this question whether all these new concepts, at least have we been talking about this? Is there an assignment? So getting into traditional mindset, because otherwise we'll be definitely floated away from the strategic drift. I mean, world will move away from there and Sri Lanka will be floating, and obviously she will face a challenge. All new talent will be migrating to Australia or New Zealand, saying that we are in a Stone Age country. So those are the few that I have gone through practically, and it's of course a challenge how to derive on a good strategy and how to get this data orientation, AI orientation, machine learning element, because few know about machine learning. And for about many years we have been talking about AI. But I don't know whether, forget about AI is artificial. Are we using our natural intelligence on concepts like growth mindset? So I do a lot of guest lecturing and in many universities. So when I come up with, can I have a few thoughts about this growth mindset? Only handful of people know about this growth mindset. And especially multitasking. So we have been preaching getting into multitasking. Now the philosophy is, if you don't focus one or two, I think during our MBA time, focus means only one thing. But we are asked to do so many things at a time. So I personally having some memory loss because of focusing many things at a single moment. So when I start working, I get lots of deadlines, lots of projects. So how can we get out, and what is the philosophy? So that's a huge dilemma, whether we should multitask or where we should focus. If you get into focusing, you will definitely drop out of your company. So where to put the mark? So those are, I mean, philosophically huge challenges if you want to move into, at least get out of 2023. Forget about 24 and onwards. So just to, heat up the forum, came up with a few things.
Thank you, Dr. Dinesh. I think we very well said about it. Our people are very innovative. The Sri Lankans are very innovative. We have a talent pool in this country. At one forum, someone said, I think a professor you were there in Sinhala, Rata bankolot vela naha, Minusu bankolot vela tiyena. That's what he was trying to say. And I think perception development is very important. Unless you change your perception, you're going to go nowhere. And as you say, growth mindset is value addition to yourself. These sort of institutions are very important for our country to come out with youth with change mindset. And of course, for that, we always practice mindfulness. Yes, with that, we'll move into the next presenter. Mr. Ranjit Karyavasam, Managing Director, HECA PLC. Once again, big conglomerate. He has vast experience in different arenas. We would like to hear from you.
Thank you, Ajit. I think once again, very honored to be at this distinguished forum. I would like to bring a different perspective because we are more in the outward looking situation on the export manufacturing and marketing. So let me bring in some of the external challenges and the changes that are rapidly taking place globally in terms of having competitive and sustainable growth models in export-oriented companies. Hales today accounts for close to about 4% of Sri Lanka's exports. And the key sectors of activated carbon, the glove business, the fiber business, as well as the fabric accounts for majority of that. So one of the global phenomena what we are seeing today is there are multiple facets which are different to the global environment that we have seen 10, 15 years ago, which is a rapid change. If you look at today, most of the countries, either you are developed or developing, is polarizing towards not free trade. Most are polarizing towards regional interest, nationalistic, to the extent of so-called free world, protecting their core, right? Mainly wants to have, going to the extent of even having manufacturing on their own and implementing a lot of tariff as well as non-tariff barriers for the other countries' products and services to come in. This is a totally different change and a huge challenge, especially for the countries in the developing world. If you look at the COVID and the subsequent economic recession or the slowness of the growth of the economy globally, has taken an unprecedented change in this environment. The COVID, although there are certain spikes in certain industries, necessitated Western countries to rethink about their supply chains. How protected are we against this kind of global events? And the Ukraine war changed the entire dynamics of the energy equation in the Europe. How should we self-sufficient on our energies, more acceleration on the renewable energy sides, and less dependency on the imports. Then the geopolitics between West and the East, particularly China versus the US, is taken to an extreme corner where the US is in fact, and China on the other side, looking at the near possibility of China invading Taiwan and the consequences of that to the economy as well as the geopolitics. So what this has brought about is a huge dimension of protectionism, national interest. And there is no free trade anymore, ladies and gentlemen. If someone calls about an open economy, free trade, and a level playing field, it is not there. So this is a huge change. The role of the United Nations, role of the WTO, role of what you call Commonwealth or whatever the organization you call it, there is no level playing field anymore. And that polarization is so large that in order to survive and execute strategies from a developing country like us becomes much more challenging than what it was many years ago. So if you look at this situation, you have to strategize your exports coming out of a country like Sri Lanka in order to fit into this landscape. And this landscape won't be reversing, ladies and gentlemen, in the near future for the better, but it will move to more worse situations. As I expected, what would happen in the Ukraine war, in the Europe, possibility, I hope that will never happen if China invades Taiwan. What would be the repercussions of that? And the North Korea's role in this whole geopolitical game. It's again a bomb hidden to be exposed, right? So those are the kind of key geopolitical and external environments that we need to think about when you are looking at strategizing your export strategy coming out of a country like Sri Lanka. So it's a matter of survival at the end of the day. How to swim against the big fish. Not to attack the big fish, maneuver through the big fish, and capitalize on the strength and the flexibility of the small fish. So this is what you need to very carefully plan. So what can we do? Now, if you look at the companies, exports that I have managed since 2010 at Haley's, HECAB PLC, which is provides a unique value proposition. We are into coconut carbon. We convert the shell to a very high value added product, shell to coconut charcoal to activated carbon. Today, HECAB has 16% of the global market share. And we are in all the spectrums of the applications of the coconut carbon. Activated carbon is used for water purification, air purification in the mining industry. Now, when I strategize, so these are traditional applications. How should I position HECAB for the future in this global environment? Knowing very well, as the eminent panel spoke, Sri Lanka's challenges, because our main manufacturing base, more than 50% of our volumes and the turnover comes out of Sri Lanka. And Sri Lanka is no more a competitive cost base. We are very, very expensive, energy-wise, electricity-wise, even people-wise. Productivity and the equation taken together, as correctly pointed by the panel, with these high expectations of people for better positions, better packages, and that challenge is enormous. So the costs, we are not in a cost competitive environment. Compared to Bangladesh, even compared to Vietnam, we are not in a cost competitive position. So when you are picking your manufacturing strategy, that you need to pick what are the niches, what is the value addition, what is the level of innovation and technology that you need to bring in to make use of our human capital, which has certain special traits. We are very good in technically. We are very good in, we are very technically savvy. The education levels, the people are very, very high. Given the correct environment in Sri Lanka, people will excel, right? So that is a key competitive advantage that Sri Lanka has. And we are very good in building certain what I call technologies or proprietary processes of our own using our indigenous knowledge within the companies. So HECAB is a company who has, now we are celebrating 50 years. We were the pioneering company in Asia to introduce coconut carbon to the world. We are very proud of it. So we have built 50 years of knowledge within the company on the technology and the applications. Now, if you want me to tell a strategy to come out of, face this global and the local situation, what we are looking at is appending our value portfolio of products into the highest levels in the global arena. So one of the highest value-adding products of activated carbon today is in energy storage. That is the activated carbon used in supercapacitors, activated carbon used in batteries. So HECAB went into about 10 years ago onto basic research on supercapacitor carbons. Today we are one of the two largest companies providing supercapacitor carbons around the world. The number one is a Japanese company, number two is HECAB. Now we are developing our carbons for the batteries. That is not for lithium ion. On the lithium ion, we are developing a special material for silicon anode. That is the nanosilica embedded in the carbon that can enhance the performance of the lithium ion batteries. Then we are developing a special carbon called hard carbon for the sodium ion batteries that are coming as the competing technology, one of the competing technologies for lithium ion. So there is a world trend. The EVs, electric vehicles, renewables, all that. The world requires so many gigawatt hours of battery capacity. And in that, if we can take a position of 5% of that niche of a special material, that coconut carbon and our indigenous technologies and the technology and the proprietary process that we develop can, in the next 5 to 10 years, bring about, HECAB will be an advanced material manufacturing company rather than a general activated carbon company. So that is our aim. So we are looking ahead, positioning ourselves into that strategy. One of the second things I want to mention is on the gloves. we invested more than $1 billion last, opened a facility. During the COVID period, we invested on that, the first glove manufacturing plant for the sports gloves. So that has been opened in Biagama zone. That is the first plant to manufacture sports gloves in Sri Lanka. Who is our competition? Our competition is China. China is the world's largest manufacturer of sports gloves, that is used in cycling, used in leisure sports, used in hiking, used in the golf or various other sports, horse riding and so on. So we are now going into this segment because we see there is a problem with China. The US and Europe does not want to take products more and more from China. They want to reduce the exposure. They want, earlier it was China plus strategy, now it is like away from China strategy. That's why Chinese companies are now investing in Vietnam, Bangladesh and so on. So they want their origins of manufacture outside of China. So we are taking that global change, internalizing it, and trying to build the resources and the capability within the company to get an opportunity. So at the high end of this is the Nikes, the Under Armours, or the Adidas, and there is a mid-trail layer, and there is a third layer. So we are going from this lower level, trying to reach the Nikes and the Adidas as our last step in this process. So this is some of the internalized processes and the strategies that I want to highlight to the forum that HECAB, Reproducts, and the Haley's companies are trying to bring in a practical way so that we can adjust to, or rather maneuver through, this global challenge of the political shift as well as the economic shift that is taking place, where there is no level playing field and the fittest will survive. As a small fish, as I mentioned, how to maneuver around the big fish and survive and grow. So that is our positioning.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Ranjit. Bringing the global arena to the market arena, the opportunity that we have in this country. As we said, we are rich in all our resources. I think Professor is to Dean, is a point to the Dean. It's very interesting for us to share these ideas with our students about these marketing strategies and how they could use the local material to meet this international level requirement in order for us to go from strength to strength. That's what we said. We have ample resources in this country. With that, with the time constraint as well, I'll be now moving to Mr. Anura Pereira. He comes from a financial background. I'm sure he'll be able to add a lot of value to how to balance the finances, etc., etc. So it's over to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me for today's event, and a very good morning to all of you. So my company that I work for is mainly into the service industry. We do not manufacture anything. So what we felt at the beginning of the entire crisis is that we, as a service company, our main strength was our workforce. And we focused on our workforce. Change is inevitable. All of you agree with that. Crisis comes with change. But what is important is how you react to the crisis and how you react to the change. That was our concept. So, you know what happens is that, now take, leaving business perspective out, take two people who are suffering from the same illness. How much they survive, how much they are happy depend on how they react to their illness rather than the physical illness itself. A person who reacts better, person who is more content might survive and be happy for a longer period of time, whereas the person who just collapses psychologically might die soon. I'm not saying, I'm not never implicating that medicine is not important, it's very important. But the mindset that you face the crisis, the mindset that you face the change is also important. So what we did was, when we saw the crisis is hitting us, we start speaking to our people. Because in what we realize is that a lot of people collapses, or their dreams collapses very quickly when the change is there, when the crisis is there, but they don't want to change their strategies. So we went the other way around. We told them, stick on to your dreams, don't change your dreams, it's very important. But let's change the strategy. So that's from where we started. Why we did that was, with the crisis hitting us very badly, people not having electricity, fuel, everywhere doom and gloom, a lot of people started migrating. And this entire collapse in mindset started affecting our business. So we spoke to them, we tell them, don't worry, let's go ahead with our dream, let's not lose our dream, but let's change the strategy. That helped us to retain our workforce. Not only that, we basically change our strategies, re-engineered in a different sense, not in the manufacturing sense. Our motto or our dream was to serve our customers continuously. So while some of our competitors were not operative 100%, I'm not saying we were also operative 100% during the crisis and the whatever the period of uncertainty, but we operated better than them. To do that, what we told the people was we changed the strategies as much as possible. A lot of people would have done that. People who could work from home. But unfortunately, there were people who had to come to work because we have to serve our customers. So what we told is, come to work, it doesn't matter, whatever you want. We built some washrooms. You come in whatever, you can wear whatever, come here, take a wash and then start working. And you go home at whatever the time that is comfortable. A lot of people came and we showed the commitment from the top as well. Now, I live in Battaramulla, my office is in Boralla, so I have 8 kilometers. So for about 1.5 to 2 months, I walk to office every day. 8 kilometers in the morning, 8 kilometers in the evening. So I walked 16 kilometers. My old classmate, Professor Abhesekara, told me I have grown tall. So it cannot happen because at my age, I'm almost 50. Now, but when you compare our structures, I lost weight because I walked 16 kilometers a day. I lost 11 kilograms during those 1.5 months. So with that message, when people saw that I'm walking to office, people start, on a daily basis, people worked. And some people, I'm very happy to say, even from remote areas as Biyagama, Malvana, came in push cycles to office. 25 kilometers, not easy. Because we are old now, I'm almost 50. So that helped us to retain market share, get the confidence of our customers, whatever happens, these people serves us. And actually we gained the market share. In certain sectors, we are now about 90% of the market, Sri Lankan market, in certain sectors, not the entire thing. But that is what we did. We spoke to people. We make sure that they have the mindset to face the change. They have the mindset to face the challenge. And then basically gave the commitment from the top also. We are also with there. We are also in this mess with you. And that helped us. And in this April, when I finalized accounts, I'm very happy because it's a private company, I can't tell the numbers, but I was very happy with the figures. And we gave a very good increment that I'm proud of to the employees as well as a very good bonus. So it's a positive reinforcement. People know that we worked hard. We worked during almost impossible times when other people couldn't work, and we got rewarded also. So that is one of the key changes or key ways that we face this challenge. Recognizing the change, acknowledging the change, but not giving up our dream, but changing the methods of achieving that dream. That was what we did. I'm coming from a finance background. So one of the other things that we are doing right now, again, this is a hunch. Again, don't hold me accountable for what I say. Based on what I have seen, I read the 151-page IMF document. I watched very carefully various socio-economic, political developments. My gut feeling is the next economic challenge to businesses might come in the first quarter of 2025. That's my gut feeling. I may be wrong. So what I'm doing now is I'm envisaging various scenarios that can be in 1Q 2025, and developing multiple strategies like reorganizing the business structures, reorganizing the processes, so that that potential whatever the challenge or the scenario that we may face in 1Q 2025, I am better prepared. Again, I may be completely wrong. Nothing may happen in 2025. Scenarios that I am envisaging might not happen in 2025. Even both of those happens, the strategies I am adopting may be completely ineffective. But at least I have thought through it. So when that happens, I am ready. So another very important strategy is think a bit ahead. I have 1.5 years. I have told my entire board of directors and entire senior management, we have 1.5 years to change ourselves. And we want to have the prototype by 31st March next year. Next 9 months we are testing it on the ground, and then we will see what happens. Again, I can be wrong, that's perfectly fine. But we are trying. We are trying to envisage the future. So those are the two important things from my perspective I am doing, and I am going to little bit more finance now. Last year we started something called cash flow based management. Now so far what did we do? We prepared at the beginning of the year we prepared a cash flow statement. In our university there was a professor called Professor Danture Wickramasinghe, and he was telling us one day that our companies have a ceremonial practice called budgeting. Why he called it a ceremonial practice? We make a lot of effort, prepare a budget, cut a cake and publish the budget. No one looks after that after that. Someone, I can't remember the name of that professor, Emmanuel Kant or Emmanuel, someone has told that in one of his research. That's what professor told us. So we slightly deviated from that. We did a cash flow budget and we basically looked at where we are going to end up each month. Then let's say that I have a negative balance in the month of let's say August, 50 million. But I can't be in a negative balance. So what did I do? We, starting from where we need to be in terms of cash, we changed our strategies. How much are we going to sell? What is our stock holding period? What is our debtors collection period? How much reinvestment capex are we going to make? So to achieve that particular cash flow or cash amount, we re-engineered or we reconfigured rest of our business. I'm not saying it's a good strategy in the long run, because in the long run if you do that, you are foregoing the growth, which is not good. But when it is a crisis, when survival becomes priority compared to the growth, it becomes a survival strategy. We might change it very soon, but what I am saying is still the crisis is over. So there are various things like that we did. I can share a few more experience in next rounds. So thank you very much. Over to you.
Thank you, Mr. As he says, ladies and gentlemen, behind every crisis there is an opportunity. Are we looking at opportunity or are you looking at crisis? We are very good at looking at crisis and other opportunities. And he said he's 50 years, he's becoming older, but he's young at heart. That's what he observed. He's changing the dreams to strategies. And also be very proactive in finance in order to meet your challenges. I mean, finance as much as the human resource, finance also very important, going hand in hand to all these things. So those are, I mean, very important things what you shared. Thank you so much. So we'll go to the rows between the tones, or I don't know, tones between the rows or whatever, name it, to the lady with her experience in HR. I mean, human capital is very important. Let's get from you about human capital development.
Thank you. First of all, thanks a lot for giving me this opportunity to, be part of this forum and part of this panel. It's an honor to be here. So, having heard what the rest of the speakers had to say, it just sets the tone for and sets the stage for what I have to give in through my profession as well. Because now we're talking on challenges and what we want, where we want our businesses to be in the future. We have to re-envision our strategies, our business, and see how we want to get there. So in this line, we see that certain things like challenges or opportunities, everything is beyond our control. There are so many factors that contribute to it. But at the end, if you want to achieve something, there is one thing, in my view, I might be a little biased towards my profession, but I'm saying there's one thing that I will put it as the glue of everything. That is human capital. So as businesses, we need to see, are we really utilizing our human capital to the fullest? Do we have enough processes, resources? Are we really focusing on it adequately in order to make sure that we're ready for our business 5 years down the line or 10 years down the line? We see change as a challenge, but like we heard before, change is inevitable. We need to embrace it. And time again, we've seen in the past where people or businesses who did not embrace change were left behind. So no business wants to be that. You might be a brand. You heard of Nokia, BlackBerry, all these brands, they were massive, but then what happened to them? And what happened to brands like Apple and Samsung, who actually, took the ball and ran? So we all want to be there. We want to be part of businesses like that. For that, we need to be able to have a clear strategy and align our strategies in line with that. So the future of business, I would say, lands a lot on digitization. You have to manage your human resources in this spectrum as well. We see in the past how certain jobs have gotten redundant. Blue-collar jobs, factory-level jobs you would see in the manufacturing industry. A lot of people who were employed in manual labor are no longer there. What are these people doing? How are they bringing food to their table? You have to stay ahead of the change. So blue-collar jobs, most of it, 50% or more, have been made redundant. But the reality is, the future is that it's coming to the white-collar job as well. But having said that, when we see automation, when we see AI, robotics coming in, digitization, aspects of digitization coming into the workplace, we also see a threat to us as people. What are we going to do as our jobs? What will happen to us in 5-10 years' time? So we become very, what can I say, self-conscious. We try to be very safe, play it safe, and at the end of the day, without us knowing, we get left behind. But the thing is, it's about maximizing it. You have to see it as an opportunity. So it's both for the individual and the business, and as well as the human resource spectrum as well as professionals. So when we try to envision our business 10 years down the line, firstly, we can work it backwards. Where do we want to be, and where we are right now? And like our speakers said before, you plan for the future. You might be wrong. For all you know, once you get there in 2025 Q1, you might be wrong. But still, the best thing is you have at least done something. Now, when it came to the pandemic, it's a classic example for Sri Lanka. We saw a lot of businesses maximizing the opportunity. Of course, we moved into remote working. Most companies, especially service-oriented organizations. That was during the pandemic. So from a pre-pandemic, we went to the pandemic phase, and then now we're in the new post-pandemic era. But the sad part there is my observation, we had to come to that period in order to change. So we were late. We found ourselves struggling for the first, let's say, at least the first quarter of the pandemic. We were struggling because we didn't have the resources, we didn't have the infrastructure, the necessary planning. I'm not talking about everyone, but at least a good part of the private public sector were forced to realign themselves in rapid pace, because they suddenly found out that you can't operate the way they have been during the pandemic. But it's not the same. It was not the same in foreign nations, more developed countries, because they are sometimes leaps and bounds ahead of us. We, being a developing country, we have our own, yes, we have our own skill sets and talents and potential. There is vast potential, but we're still behind. We're not the game changers, we're still following. And there are so many things that we can still adapt and adopt and implement in order to get there. But had we been open in the past, we probably may have been a little bit more faster to react to what the pandemic brought us. So we came out of that and we have overcome it, but we also saw certain businesses falling off, certain people losing their jobs. But then now we've learned from our mistakes. We need to see futuristically. We need to think that way, in my view. So in terms of human resources, I would say as HR, we have to, as HR professionals, we have to think about how we are going to change our approach in human resources from a more transactional model to a more of a business partner or with modern HR thinking. We need to be able to contribute more towards the strategies of the organization and see how we can manage the biggest resource of the company, which is your organization, which are the human resources. Yes, there'll be digitization, automation, AI and robotics coming into place, but something technology will never be able to duplicate is the human touch. Whatever it is, whatever your job role, it may be overtaken by a robot one day, but you need to be there in order to make sure that whatever that comes out of these machines will be humanized as well. Because after all, we are still surviving, right? We will be surviving. So we have to be there. So the secret is how we have to get ahead of that and embrace change as individuals, as organizations, and be able to, like, you take up the challenge, don't be afraid, and try and implement it as much as you can. So on those lines, we will be, later on, I suppose I can touch on things like challenges and how we can adapt certain strategies into the work front as well. On an HR angle, we can talk about managing our talent, managing different ways of compensation, how we will compensate our employees. Right now, we're doing what we have been doing over the years, but we are also looking at a new generation of workforce coming into our workplaces. Our thinking is going to be much different than the Gen Zs and the Alphas who are going to come and work under us once we get to a much higher, let's say, we would see that. There'll be a generational gap. So our management practices will have to be aligned in a way that it syncs with their thinking. Yes, we heard about how the younger generation wants, quick progression, they want promotions after promotions. It's not practical in the way we operate. We never saw it that way. We never demanded for that. Yes, that's absolutely true. But if the younger generation is demanding that, if that is what their lifestyle is going to be like, the challenge there is we are forced to realign ourselves to suit that generation, because after all, they're going to be the future. They're the ones who will be taking our business through. They'll be the leaders of the organizations that we're managing today. So we have to set the stage for them. So on those lines, I suppose we can take our conversation further. So yeah, over to you.
Thank you, Shara. She did a justice to her profession like HR. And people are actually creative. And they want to have their personal desires. That's what they say. I can talk about 2 or 3 days about the people management. I've worked in more than 100, 200,000 people during my life. So I think we'll have to definitely have the correct human resources capital, not the human capital. That's another important thing. We have another practical problem. Our psychological fear, we have psychological fear that adapting to the requirement. That's the challenge that we have. Ladies and gentlemen, I really want to ask some question from these eminent panel, but they came out with some brilliant ideas. That's what I said. The selection of this panel was fantastic and wonderful. We got so many new thinking coming into, as well as the Open University and all of us. I'm sure among these panelists also they have got from them, but I think it's nothing but fair. At least we ask 1 or 2 questions from them to further get their expertise and share this in this important forum. So let me go back to our first presenter, Dr. Jagat. And it's very relevant, Dr. Jagat, when it comes to education holdings. And you said that you are into that. So in your role as a chairman of CEG Education Holdings, what initiatives have you taken to transform the private sector education sector in Sri Lanka? I'm sure that will be very useful for this.
When we, the institution, what we have, ICBT, ANC, and what we are doing is we are actually delivering British, Australian and American degrees in Sri Lanka. And initially we had some professors and lecturers from respective countries that I am talking about 20 years back. But we realized, and the universities also realized, we have enough talent in Sri Lanka to teach their curriculum to our students. The only difference which I see is that for private education we have to pay, but the state education you need not to pay. And for example, like the doctors doing private practices, a lot of people from the state universities, different industries are lecturing at our places. So, but only thing we'll have to make sure our delivery is according to their standards. So if you take a British degree, the British degree has to comply with the university standards, and also the quality assurance agency in UK, they also come for various audits in between. And so basically what I see is the same child who are passing O-level or A-levels coming to our institution. But we managed to change their approach. They have sense of belonging towards the organization. Various sessions, they have various clubs, and they're having the Vesak, Poson, Bhaktigi, and all sort of things. And also different religious they respect. So that's something very, very important. I remember during the Aragalaya time, they asked, we also want to contribute. Will you give permission? I said, tell them, that's their right. If they want to do it, let's go and do it, right? And express themselves. So out of large number of students, 400, 500 students started doing various things, and in front of the organization. So they are also part of this society. But their attitudes are different sometimes, not always. Most of the time, I would say, to the state university students. I don't know why. Same people coming from the same, after the same exam, studying at the same places. Most of them are lecturing, the same people are lecturing also, like the doctors. They are doing the state plus private sector. So I don't see any difference why you are doing, there's no difference. And here also we will find, I don't mind, I will say he's one of our prominent lecturers, part-time lecturers. And they are the same things they are doing. So for example, there was a robotics competition organized by a particular state university. And we won the first place and third place, ICBT, not ANC, for 3 times. Then another state university said, no, we will not come for this if private universities are coming. But we managed to change it gradually. And this year, that particular university organized a 7-a-side rugby tournament. And they invited us also. So things are changing. Things are changing. So I see we shouldn't get them head on, but over the time, we should be able to change it. So, and I know various people are saying for the private education, Upadhi Kada and all sort of things. But the same people who are telling that, I can't tell the names, the children are also studying with us. So they don't want others to study. But whilst we are doing this, a certain number of students will join us. So that will create a vacuum for the other students to enter the university. But I have studied the English level of the state university students, and some of our students are almost same. Presentation skills. Because state universities has changed over the years, but from private sector, the perception is state universities, they are yakos. They are, I would say, they are, because they see them picketing at Lipston, roundabout, and things like places like that. But those are the people, sometimes those who have not got jobs. Those who don't want to do a job. But thousands and thousands of students are not joining them, but they are happily doing their studies or working, or I don't know whether going abroad, and they have employed. So the perception of the state university student has to change. That has to change. Because a small number of students, for example, one of my batchmates are still on the part of those protests. And sometimes they say, Rakia Nomati Upadidari. But I don't think he has never applied for a job. My professor also know him very well. Probably he has never applied for a job. So that creates the perception. So I think that has to be changed. And I know all these companies, the private sector companies, we have state graduates, top class graduates. And some of them are superb, and they will get some multinationals, they get jobs without any difficulty. So the others may not find the best students, but they are already employed. So this perception will have to change. That's the responsibility of all of us. That's the responsibility of all of us.
Thank you, Doctor. I think time constraint is matters. As he says, it's a transformation of your mindset changing, the discipline coming in. That's the key. I think we can hear from him for hours, but I think we have a problem of time limitation. So may I ask a very pertinent question from Dr. Dinesh, his experience in various marketing and sales and roles prepared you for the challenges, re-envisioning the business management landscape, that is one of our subjects, and with a very short brief because time constraint.
Yeah, it's a very, very broad question. So, first initiative, I wouldn't restrict my answer to my particular organization. I would take FMCG and the marketing front as a context. So, number one challenge was how to embed this data orientation into the culture. So, many organizations I can remember, including mine, have gone into data analytic tools like BI and lots of tools. I think blue chip companies are now install all these, software which they can link their enterprise system to this dashboard systems like BI. So any manager level person can go into this BI and suck information from the mainstream and do their own dashboards, and they can see what are the gaps and opportunities which will be essentially needed through strategy creation. So that is one of the initiatives. And from the AI front, I have seen many of the organizations now adapting AI generated methodology to check the demand forecast for few years. So demand may vary depending on the consumer behavior, customer behavior, different generational gaps. So no human can properly say, okay, what will be my product demand for next 2-3 months. Lots of variables are there. Demand accuracy varying around maximum you can go up to 86%. So challenge will be for supply chain whether to manage 100% or less. So it's a dilemma. So most of companies now getting into AI related mechanism to put all the variables in a machine and see what should be the demand. So that's another. And brand versus products. Now lots of intellectual young consumers are looking for a purpose. Purpose-driven products and especially purpose-driven companies. Okay, if I ask why should I use a product? Maybe a cream or a shampoo, more than the physical benefit, they check for the purpose. So lots of, especially after the very profound concept of Simon Sinek's the golden cycle, the YY concept, based on that, now lots of companies are deriving what is the purpose of their company, including mine. Now we have developed so many, purpose statement, why HEMA should be there in this world, in Sri Lanka, what is their purpose. So it has a direct relationship how to get good talent to the company because purpose matters. And if you can see lots of Unilever brands, including our brands, now they have gone into purpose-driven marketing, from brand-driven marketing, rather than just saying, I am just a soap, they are saying I am from value chain where they source oil to produce in the value chain. During the value chain, what is their journey and what is their value contribution to society? They market not as a product, okay, this is our purpose, it's being a soap. So we give lots of employment opportunities, economic growth. More than that, we have a purpose. So product-driven marketing to purpose-driven marketing. A best example is, I can quote Munchie. Munchie used to say we are just a biscuit, and lots of social responsibility events. Now they say Munchie is not only producing biscuits, we are doing something else as well, and it's a very nice, practical, purpose-driven. So another thing is lots of Z generation is more into high-tech driven because they don't look at TV, they don't look at traditional media. How to get this new talent into ATL front. So lots of companies, as I told you, getting into this gamification. So gamification has been a novel thing. It has to be promoted. Best example is if you go to YouTube, you can see a nice advertisement developed by local company CBL Munchie with Sera Kottu, and they have developed an advertisement like a game. So it's not a push-driven marketing. Push means we go and say, please buy my product. It's a pull-driven marketing. Okay, you interact with us. So you interact with us, your branding is there. So new generation likes this. So lots of new concepts, as I told you, metaverse. Even lots of companies are now getting into that. You create a virtual platform rather than for Bhati and Santosh, you can go to Nelumpokon and enjoy, but why to waste a lot of time? You can create avatars and you have the virtual event. Even I can, with my avatar, go and enjoy Bhati Santosh's show. That's a new era. So lots of youngsters will not, physically go to event. I can say Vesak is now in virtual. You can enjoy Vesak in metaphase. You can enjoy Posong maybe in metaphase. In WhatsApp, Aurudutsav, everything is, a game culture is there. So I think Sri Lanka has to come, and that will be the future. Those are novel technology-driven innovation in the marketing FMCG front, how we had to drive. So those are the few things. If you're getting to another thing, especially people are now asking green, chemical-free, sustainable products. So you can see lots of products are now getting rid of traditional chemical-driven products to sustainable-driven product. If you take live example, Hemas last year joined a product range called Vivya. So that is made out of real, traditional rice. So that's 100% sort of a traditional sort of a chemical-free proposition. Recently we launched a new range, array of product called Prasara, a new brand, where we want to get into international also. So with a purpose, with a real chemical-free, real traditional ingredient-driven brand. So now lots of intellectual, novel people are moving into chemical-free. So lots of companies are going into this. So just give you a few practical examples for the interest of time.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Dinesh. I'm sure our dean is very keen on this particular subject, and he has come out with so many novel thinking. Yes, it has to be purpose-driven and green culture, environment sensitivities, all there. Considering this time constraint, I have so many questions to ask from all these panelists, but I pose one question to Mr. Ranjit, and he has a lovely philosophy in this organization called 3E. I'm not going to talk about it. I would like you to explain it. Please bear with us on the time, but it's a lovely concept. I'm sure you'll be able to share it for the benefit of everyone.
Thank you. It's again touching on the previous eminent panelist on the purpose. Now, when you looked at the Haley's group of companies, our board and the chairman came up with the need for us to go from a vision-based corporations as an add-on layer to purpose-driven organizations. Now, one thing I must emphasize here is that I see there is also the fad or a style of companies trying to move into a lot of purpose statements. But there are basic, before we do a purpose statement, it's very important to understand there has to be a conducive organizational culture to inculcate or rather embrace a purpose-driven company. It cannot be implemented in every company. There has to be a certain level of maturity, certain level of organizational harmony in terms of the human capital and how they look at towards the organization to embark on a purpose-driven organization. Otherwise, it becomes just a statement per se. One of the most important ingredients I understand, I have gathered my experience in terms of that basic background is you should be able to walk the talk. That is very simple in the management, but it is very hard to practice. That is particularly by looking at the leaders of the company, particularly from the senior management level. If you are not walking the talk, if you don't do what you say you would do, having that kind of a purpose statement is going to be meaningless. So you need to do a health check first to see whether the organization, whether you have the leadership that is walking the talk, lead by example. So that I must emphasize beforehand. So the main reason why we went for this 3E or the culture behind culture that we plan to set in driving our corporate purpose by looking at many angles. One is one of the key topics today is about this, the new generations, the millennium and the Gen Z and so on. That relates to the Maslow hierarchy, where people are more towards self-actualization needs now. They need to find a purpose of their work, why they exist, why should I work rather than getting only the pay and the position and the facilities. What is the meaning to my work, right? So we are looking at that generation too in driving the purpose statement and looking at the customers and the requirements, external environment, all that. So we came up with the tagline after a lot of internal discussion called the tagline of our purpose statements was driving change and changing lives. Driving value and changing lives. So that was our tagline. So we are in an industry where we add significant value to kind of waste. And we want to create that value to all stakeholders of the business. And then the changes that we do help to what I call clean the world. Our product is used for pollution control. So we want to change the planet positively. So that was a tagline. So in order to achieve that, we want to identify what is the organization culture that we need to inbuild. Now we went on a lot of brainstorming on this. We identified basically three underlying principles for this culture. One is envisioning. It's simply, because the time constraint. Envisioning is, we are defining it as our ability to foresee the future, the requirements of the industry, the customers, the employees, and all stakeholders. Be able to envision, foresee the future. Then empowering, this is very, very important for our organization because recent changes like COVID surprised us how the power of empowerment can change an organization. We were very successful during the COVID because COVID was discussed. We were one of the very few companies globally, if you look at from a coconut carbon or glove point of view, that entire COVID period, we did not have any disruption in our supply chain. And we were a world example of an uninterrupted supply chain out of Sri Lanka, Indonesia, and Thailand, our manufacturing bases. And we earned a name, and that became a competitive advantage for us. So the overseas functions, overseas management surprised us when we gave the complete autonomy to manage, make decisions during that period because no one could travel, they could not travel back. So we gave complete empowerment, decision-making capability with resources to make very quick decisions. That was our success during one of the key successes of the COVID. So we want to embed that, mainly covering the employees of the company, the leadership, everybody, to make an empowered organization. Then finally, these things should yield what we call enrichment, right? We are trying to enrich all the stakeholders. That is, not only the employee is a key part of it, customer is a key part of it, but not only that, the society and the environment as a key stakeholder. And what is also very pivotal to this purpose statement is that we want to adopt the triple bottom line. We want to have a sustainable organization, that we want to ensure not only the economic profit is a very good thing. Without the economic profit, you can't have the other profits of the people and the planet. Whilst we have the economic profit of the company, a due share of our contribution should be shared between the environment to protect the planet, what we should do in the future, and also to the society at large. So that adaptation of that triple bottom line was pivotal to have this whole culture of envisioning, empowering, and enriching to achieve our purpose of the driving value and having effective change in the organization. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think it was a very detailed one. Due to time constraint, it's something to study. It's very interesting, this 3E concept. I was very fortunate, thanks to the university. I also learned about it. Thank you very much.
Articles in LinkedIn.
Yes.
On this, each piece, if anybody is interested, can read through that, the 3 articles I wrote, particularly on this 3E.
Thank you very much. Actually, what we really look at, if you want to enrich the organization, we were doing a thing called climate survey. I mean, these are something, Professor, we can discuss about to see how your adaptability to the organization, since the time is again and again and again and flying. And would you like to explain, share any specific insight, for example, from your role as knowledge management and financing that highlight the need of envisioning the business management landscape in today's dynamic world? You explained to a certain extent, you can give another elaboration.
Sure. So I will start from, I will give from a more finance perspective. So again, the companies does not go bankrupt because they are loss making. Companies go bankrupt because they don't make cash. So one of the things that we can do, and we have done, is there's a nice book written by 2 valuation, what you call, gurus, called Michael Mauboussin and Alfred Rappaport. The name of the book is Expectation Investing. So what expectation investing means this. Normally what do? We do a cash projection. We do something called a discounting or some technical thing, and we arrive at a value. What these 2 gentlemen have done is they have started with a value and understood the drivers which create the value and identified what the value driver should be to achieve your target value. So that is expectation investing. That book is available, very nice book, about 150 to 200 page book. So what we did was we adopted this in this environment. So rather than doing business and looking at the cash balance that is generated through that business, we looked at the cash balance that we wanted and how should we do business in order to arrive at that cash balance. That is reverse engineering. You call, in valuation terms, it is called reverse DCF. For cash flow there is no name, but I believe you understand the concept. You start with the target and then basically understand or appreciate how business should be conducted, how funding should be done in order to achieve that cash balance. Again, I am telling you, this is not a good concept in the long run, because this is a survival concept. In the long run, what is important is growth. For that, you might need to go with a negative cash balance, like Keynes says in his budgets, negative budgets are always expanding. So that's perfectly fine. That is in the normal long run. So that is one thing that you can do. Another thing is cost of funding, because all of you know that our rates went up to as high as 36%. Now managing this is very important. You know, the cost is a function of 2 factors. One is the outstanding balance. The other one is basically the interest rate. So outstanding balance comes from 2 main things. Number one is the working capital. The other one is normal growth capital or investment capital. You can probably postpone investment capital for some time, because you may not renovate in your building which is you are currently staying, can be postponed to 2 to 3 years unless something is drastically wrong. But working capital, you can't do that. So you need to understand how to manage that. Especially we face a situation, because most of our suppliers are overseas people, we faced a major issue. Normally your credit period you deduct from your debtors period, because you get credit from your credit suppliers and you give credit to your debtors. Here it becomes the other way around. You have to, when you are placing the order, you have to pay your suppliers. So now your credit period also get added to the debtors period. Not at the time of even receipt of the goods, at the payment, at the point of placing the order, because you are a bankrupt country. No one wants to do business with you unless you pay in advance. So how to manage that? So how we streamlined our inventory. So we brought down our inventory probably from about good 40% during the last 1 year. Very close streamlining. Debtor management, how we manage our debtors, with whom we should do business. All this is important for working capital management, which decide the quantum that you need to borrow. The third aspect is, so that is related to the volume. Then the rate. 36% is almost a prohibitive rate, all of you will believe. But there are various things you can do in order to reduce that rate. A lot of people in the panel talked about purpose. There are purpose-based funding sources that you can tap into. So we were able to borrow from one of these purpose-based funding sources for about 15% when the rate were at 36%. So that is, you have to very closely monitor what is happening in the world and tap to that right source and get the money. So that's the second one, managing your cost of capital. Third one is investing. You know, people are talking about DDR these days. There is a domestic debt restructuring. You don't know what is going to happen. Exchange rates are so much, interest rates are so much. Government bonds are giving so much of a yield, but there's a possibility of a haircut. So managing that in a way, it's a risk-based management and diversification. You cannot put everything, you can't be greedy in this case. If you're greedy, you're gone. If you're greedy and put it to one source, and if that goes for a 6, you're gone. So you have to properly identify what are the sources and then invest in various sources and various institutions, various assets categories, maximizing not the return but the risk-weighted return, risk-adjusted return. Maximizing return is a very easy thing. Maximizing the risk-adjusted return is very difficult. For that, you need to have an unbiased appreciation of the risk environment of the country. So that's another thing that you can look at in order to be successful in this type of a challenging economic environment. Final point, in the interest of time also, the exchange rate. We import a lot. So how do we manage? So one of the key mistakes that we made when the crisis hit us was that we were banking with one or two very long-term banks with very long-term relationships. It hit us very bad because some of those banks, I don't want to name any, were the worst hit by the exchange rate crisis. So when they are hit, we are also hit. So now what we have done is we have diversified everything. We have banked with 5 to 6 bankers, very close relationship, properly distributed portfolio among them. So if one bank fails, it doesn't matter. We have another 5 to support us. So diversification is also another important strategy that we can adopt.
Thank you, Mr. Aruna. I think it's very applicable to our personal life as well. If you really look at your credit card payments, it's more than 36%. Most of the youth, they misused it in a lighter way, and I said. So we'll come to the final question from our lady. Since time is a constraint, could you please provide an example of specific challenges that the business face in adapting to change and re-envisioning? This is one of our subjects. Their management practices. How can these challenges be addressed effectively?
Yes, so on these lines now, when we are trying to re-envision our business landscape, we have to adapt into changes. So the biggest challenge when it comes to change is, one thing is about, more often than not, it'll come down to finding common ground. Now, when it comes to people, or even practices and processes, finding common ground, because you will be dealing with different segments of people. There'll be the segment who are resistant to change. There'll be the segment who are the change pioneers. There'll be some who will have different opinions as to how about we're going to get to this change, may have different opinions. And then there'll be the people who will be okay with whatever it is that's done. And so on and so forth. But at the end, we have an objective, we want to implement a change, but then there are various elements. So you can't implement it the way you want. So how do you get about it is up to you. There is no right and wrong answer in my view, because it also boils down to the company culture, the purpose of the organization, the impact that you're placing, where you want to do, what sort of change you want to bring into the organization. So all these factors will play a different role, but within your organization, you need to find that middle ground. You might have to make adjustments. Say, for example, you want to bring in a new practice, maybe a performance management system. There'll be certain people, there'll be a segment who will not want it. It might be as simple as automating your performance system. There'll be difference in opinion. So what are you going to do? Are you just going to stay by your word and implement it as it is? No, because amongst the people who are reluctant or resistant to change might be some of the key people in your organization. So how are you going to bring in this change, which is imperative for the future of your organization strategy? How are you going to bring that? By balancing everyone. So you need to be able to be flexible, you need to be open to that feedback as well, and see how you'll find common ground. So on these lines, I think we also need to establish what our culture is in the company. I think a culture that's focused on passion, unity, teamwork, these kind of things will really build your culture and make it adaptable to change, make it more open to change and less resistant. Because with unity, there is understanding. There'll be, now basically, think about it. You work best with your best friend. That person tells you to do whatever, even something completely against what your parents say, you're okay to do it because you're comfortable with the person. It's something like that. So you built that unity amongst your workforce, which is actually probably most likely working in silos. You have departments, they're focused on the department goals, finance is on one end, marketing is on another, strategy is a different thing, budgets are separate, human resources just focusing on hiring and firing and retaining people. There is no unity there. The culture doesn't have this. So you need to, through HR, I think we need to really focus on defining our organization culture, aligning it to our business's vision and mission and strategies, and putting it across to the employees. So for that, communication is key, because in order to build that trust and understanding, you need to be able to understand what your employees are feeling, what you want to say. They need to be clear about it. If there is any feedback, there should be a conversation between the management and the employees. Also, the strategies would differ from where the change is coming. Is it a top-down change or is it a bottom-up change? So who needs to be convinced? So the strategies have to change accordingly. But I think if we master the art of finding middle ground, which is unique to your organization, the middle ground will be different from one organization to the other, but you find that, you define your culture, make sure you optimize on your communication between the management, the decision makers, and the change pioneers and the rest of the workforce. I think you'll be able to overcome the challenges and align your business to where it wants to go or where its full potential for the future.
Thank you very much. Actually, it's team building. And in fact, in the Open University, recently we had the breakfast meeting with the academics and the staff. That was fantastic. That's created the unity. Actually, this is something to do with, you can't call Pareto theory, or you can call 90-10 theory. Because the change resistance is from 10%. But if you handle them very carefully, as I said, at the ground level, sky's the limit. So with that, we will be finishing the questions from the eminent panelists. I think there's so many things to gain from them. I know they're so busy and they contributed very well for this session. Now the house is open for questions, if any. Yes, Professor. Our former dean.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for, and also thank you for you all coming here, accepting our invitation, and also sharing good knowledge and vast, as we got unbelievable experience that is credited to you all. You're talking start to re-engineering and adaptation, repositioning, and the diversification environment, and those the new business model, new opportunity for go focus. So the different things. I'm just all in the world. There's no change, because the change and challenge is the opportunity for us. So that is no, everybody get ready. That's no any question on that. So that all you have clearly explained. So I'm changing best another thing you also say the forecast. We have to forecast, we have to find a future opportunity to survive the competitive. So I'm focusing only that in as a Sri Lankan in national here we talking about this brain drains. People are try to go, talent are go out, and not the same way in the talent are now is changing. Maybe you feel the changing talent. If we forecasting employment, supply and demand in the nation is totally changing now. Yes. Simple one example, see now female employees are more entered to the market now. But within our culture point, see whether this organization culture or the organization environment, whether it change, for inculcate this, the change employment, supply, demand in this. So in this too, because my positive is for the nations, we can, even though they are going out, because they are producing talent for the national market. That is one plus point. Another thing, how we can keep our talented for our needs. So that's simple for every questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I should thanks. In Sri Lankan context, we are talking about a lack of visionary leaders. By looking at the comments and whatever the particular communication, I can see this so-called think tank can be seen from these eminent personalities. But unfortunately, in the country, we are talking about this strategic. In the strategic management, we discuss about something called there should be a strategic window, need to be open, a temporary time period, the opportunity should be created, we have to grab before the window is going to be closed. But what is your idea, even though we have these eminent personalities, intellectuals, so we have good professionals, but I have seen there's a small gap between these so-called different people, where I actually put my mind set into a kind of a different egos. So what is your idea as eminent panel members? So how we can bridge this gap? Then we have academia, then we have a private sector, but still I can see the small kind of a different egos playing each other. But this kind of forums will bridge the gap. But is there any other strategies you can propose us for moving forward, even in the faculty, even for the university and all? I just want to.
Good question, Professor. I think that's also from other faculties also, in other universities also same dilemma is there. So my proposal is, if you take international universities, maybe in master's level, I mean, there should be a window that academia should come to the industry, and there should be a window created, opportunity created, a hot desk should be there for academics to come and part and parcel of the company strategy, not only the strategy. So there is a tech, professors, academias are there only for creating the strategy. Academia should be part and parcel of sometimes how to implement the strategy as well. They should also go into the ground level and see how strategy created is going to implement at the, maybe in the blue collar level. So my proposal is at least the blue chip companies with government intervention, with intellectual interventions, blue chip companies, there should be a window. Every multinational or a blue chip should give a opportunity to academia to come and work part and parcel. And academia not only usual industry practitioner can't go through X many articles, read so many books, gather knowledge. So we have wealth of knowledge from the academia. So if you just flush 10% of that to the practitioners, there will be lots of 1 + 1 will be 4 there. So there should be a window, execution, strategy creation, board level, there should be a mix. Vice versa, there should be ample opportunities for industry practitioners to come to the academia, not only for lecturing, syllabus creation, maybe your university strategy creation, and that fusion has to be there. So lots of mixing would happen. So the gap will be gradually, minimized. Otherwise, obviously, this gap will be there.
Yeah, to add that, actually, we have done a few years back a research using a local university, very successful research. So that creates the relationship between the university and the industry. So as a result, actually, a lot of students from that university are coming to us for their internship. And we know them, what they have done. We know their capabilities. So that's another way. We're adding to that. Actually, you can use the universities for various market research. And you get so many students to collect information during their holidays. And it's something which you could do.
So one element is how to create good knowledge. The academia's main responsibility is adding lots of new knowledge to the industry. So if you all can come and work part and parcel of the organization, there is lots of knowledge which is not captured to case studies and for the books. So 80% of knowledge automatically created is go waste. So if you all come and observe, at least observation, you can create lots of theories. So again, if that model works, there can be lots of new knowledge creation and pass to the general public.
I think you want to say something.
I think it's a very pertinent question. I think it's very important that the academia identifies who are the crucial resource personnel within the organizational structure, and I think give more opportunity for more interactive sessions with the students, right? Because at the end of the day, I mean, our clientele here is the student, right? Right, within it has to be more practical oriented, this kind of forum, right? You have a topic, right? And there is an industry experience, and the eminent person who is sharing this with the university students should have a very, very practical program, and it could be linked to the syllabus or the either by a way of a project or either way of a kind of a part of a semester's particular curriculum. It can be included. Because, for example, we are also reaching our end of our career. So one of our key objectives, Professor, is also to impart this knowledge to a larger population. So, for example, we have offered our services from a company level, but sometimes we see that the thirst for that embracement, although when we offer that at corporate levels, is not taken in a very positive way, right? Because we can do that more of kind of the part of our purpose, part of our CSR that we can fund because we are very, very keen on sharing this and creating this future-ready workforce. Because one of the points that the previous dean mentioned is the migration. I don't see migration as a problem, right? We need to adjust for it. Because migration at the end of the day, for the person as well as for the country, creates a better wealth, right? Maybe the people are migrating for the wrong reasons, but they will realize it and the system will get adjusted for it over time. But Sri Lanka gets a massive push for Sri Lanka's balance sheet, Sri Lanka's cash flow in terms of foreign reserves. And these companies can leverage it because we have to also practice our whatever the deployment strategy by going overseas. For example, one strategy we are using is when eminent people leave, we try to offer these jobs. They can work from the country, whether from the US, whether from Australia, from the UK. We offer our marketing jobs to these people. So that's a way of companies adjusting for it. And the other key thing is, I think we should encourage a lot of students to be on social media for right reasons, right? For example, I have seen the enormous power of LinkedIn and getting connected to the key people, and where we share a lot of knowledge about the companies, the articles and all that. So I for example, as a person who are kind of trying to promote these in LinkedIn platforms, I would accept anybody who has a genuine interest to come into my network. And if we can encourage the students to also be in these social media correct platforms, for educational and professional knowledge, I think that will be that can take a very, very large step towards getting that exposure. I mean, rather than doing, we can always do the physical interactions, but I think the virtual platforms and the social media is also a great example of how students can connect.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. I think you may have so many questions to ask. All these expertise panel have sacrificed their time, which I mean you can't value it. So let's close this session whilst thanking these eminent panelists for sharing their very valuable thoughts. I, Dr. Shampika, consider very privileged and honored and to be with this our resource personnel. I also learned a lot.
This is also kind of extension of the Dharmadharya. Thank you very much.
I think you can see, Professor, they are doing it, they are willing to do it, but unfortunately, as they said, there are no takers sometimes. This is something we'll have to inculcate and we'll have to market it to get this sort of a talent pool into the places and create that environment for the students to learn. So let me close the session with a big thank to our panelists. Thank you so much for sharing your value. I mean, there's so much opportunities, windows are opening. And to the organization committee, our Vice Chancellor, and also the Dean of Faculty and the Chair, Professor Shampika, and Mr. Asanka is not to be seen. Yes, and so thank you so much. He was one of the driving forces even yesterday night, 10 o'clock he was speaking to me. So it's a fantastic event where I'm concerned. And if there was any lapses on our part, our apology, especially considering this time concern. I always believe every end is a new beginning. Let's start a new chapter after this second symposium. Thank you very much. Have a pleasant afternoon. Mic.